Welcome back to our channel World of Royals, where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today, we bring you some news.
Breaking news is once again rewriting the narrative surrounding the Dubai scandal, and this time the shift is dramatic. Until now, attention has centered on money trails, closed-door meetings, and unanswered questions. But a new voice has stepped into the spotlight, and she is not wielding balance sheets or legal filings. She is wielding something far more volatile, alleged personal receipts that, if true, threaten reputations, relationships, and carefully constructed public images. A prominent Dubai socialite, identified as the former wife of one of the region's most powerful billionaires, has gone public with a warning that insiders say is rattling elite circles. Her message is blunt, calculated, and she claims supported by video evidence. According to her account, Meghan Markle did not travel to Dubai solely for appearances, networking, or philanthropy. She arrived, this woman alleges, with a far more personal agenda, and she insists the proof exists on camera. The accuser is known within the Emirates simply as Soraya, a figure whose influence long predates this controversy and whose divorce reportedly ended with a settlement counted in the hundreds of millions. She is not known for chasing attention. She is known for closing doors. Late last night, she allegedly shared a cryptic message on a private Instagram account visible only to an exclusive circle of Dubai's most powerful wives, before it quickly leaked beyond that inner sanctum. The message was brief, icy, and unmistakably pointed, warning that boundaries were crossed, that nothing inside her home goes unseen, and that what was hidden would soon be revealed to the world. This allegation rewrites the entire purpose of the Dubai trip. Until now, observers believed the visit was centered on networking, donations, and financial maneuvering. That assumption is now being challenged by a far more personal claim. According to Soraya, this was not a business mission. It was a search for replacement security, replacement power, and replacement wealth. In her telling, the trip was about upgrading the provider. The theory circulating in elite circles is blunt. Meghan Markle allegedly arrived in the UAE knowing the Sussex brand was bleeding relevance, influence, and cash. With major deals stalled and public sentiment turning hostile, Dubai represented something Los Angeles could no longer offer: men with limitless resources and minimal patience for drama. She was not, Soraya claims, shopping for investors or partners for philanthropic initiatives. She was allegedly hunting for a billionaire capable of restoring the lifestyle she believes she deserves. At the center of this claim is a private dinner held 3 nights before the authorities' raid. This was not a public event. It was not photographed, promoted, or leaked in advance. It was an invitation-only gathering at a secluded estate on the Palm Jumeirah, a property owned by Soraya's former husband, a man whose wealth spans energy, real estate, and sovereign-level investments. Attendance was limited to 5 couples, all carefully vetted. Meghan and Harry were seated as guests of honor. Phones were discouraged. Cameras were prohibited. Privacy was assumed. According to Soraya, that assumption was a mistake. She alleges that throughout the evening, Meghan's focus never left the host. While the table engaged in polite conversation, she claims Meghan leaned in, locked eyes, and redirected attention with calculated precision. The behavior, as described by those who claim to have reviewed security footage, was not subtle. It was persistent. It was intimate. Soraya alleges there was physical contact beneath the table, extended eye contact, and whispered remarks designed to isolate the billionaire from the rest of the room. Meanwhile, Harry was reportedly seated several places away, engaged in small talk, unaware that the dynamic at the opposite end of the table had shifted entirely. What makes this account explosive is not merely the accusation of flirtation, but the reaction it allegedly provoked. According to Soraya, her former husband did not respond with interest. He responded with alarm. In Dubai's upper circles, hospitality is sacred, but so are boundaries. The suggestion that a married guest would pursue the host inside his own home is not scandalous. It is offensive. Soraya claims the billionaire became visibly uncomfortable midway through the meal and quietly alerted his head of security. The concern was not embarrassment. It was containment. In his view, this was not charm. It was pursuit. Soraya claims she possesses security footage from the dining room that corroborates her account. High-resolution video, she says, captured both body language and audio. According to her description, What was recorded was not a pitch for charity, media partnerships, or philanthropy. It was a personal proposition, an attempt to sell access, influence, and image management in exchange of protection and elevation. The language, she alleges, was intimate, aspirational, and wholly inappropriate given the setting. All of this, she emphasizes, occurred while Meghan's husband was present in the same room. The timing of these revelations is not accidental. Soraya is speaking now, she says, because she believes Meghan is vulnerable and because silence will be interpreted as consent. But there is another motive at play. This is a warning. Within Dubai's elite, information travels faster than headlines. Wives groups, private networks, and invitation lists function as gatekeepers. A single name added to the wrong list can end access overnight. According to insiders, those networks are already reacting. The concern is not politics or publicity. It is protection. The message circulating is simple. Guard your homes, guard your marriages, and be cautious about who you invite inside. For Harry, the implications are devastating. This is no longer about money or bad press. It is about discovering, allegedly in real time, that his presence may have been incidental, that he was not the center of the partnership, but the placeholder. Friends who once warned him privately now feel vindicated. The narrative of romance and rebellion fractures under the weight of a single question. Was he the destination or merely the bridge? And Soraya has issued a clear ultimatum. If the account is denied, if legal pressure is applied, or the event is dismissed as fiction, she claims she will release the footage. She does not want compensation. She wants acknowledgement. Her message is simple and chilling. Test me. According to those who claim to have reviewed the footage, what unfolds next removes any remaining ambiguity. The behavior is not fleeting, not accidental, and not mutual. It is directional. The security camera positioned discreetly along the dining hall ceiling captures the entire table in uninterrupted clarity. Meghan is seated to the immediate right of the host. Harry is positioned across the table, engaged in conversation with another guest, his attention periodically drifting, but never settling long enough to register what is happening beside her. The first noticeable shift occurs just over 10 minutes into the meal. Meghan adjusts in her chair, subtly turning her body away from her husband and angling herself toward the host. It is a deliberate reorientation, one that places her focus entirely on a single target. Moments later, she slips one shoe off beneath the table. This detail, dismissed by some as trivial, becomes significant because of what follows. The table, Soraya notes, is glass. The footage allegedly shows Meghan extending her foot toward the host's leg. There is no collision, no mistake. The contact is slow, lingering, and intentional. She traces along his calf. The host reacts instantly. His body stiffens. He withdraws his leg and glances downward, then back up at her face, his expression registering surprise and discomfort. This is not reciprocation. It is recoil. She does not stop. Instead, she smiles. She leans closer. She speaks. Though the audio is partially obscured by ambient noise, those who have analyzed the clip say her tone changes. It softens. It lowers. It becomes intimate. Her posture shifts again, closing distance, invading space. The host's discomfort grows more visible. He leans back. His hands remain firmly on the table. He avoids eye contact. This, according to Soraya, is the moment he signals security for the second time. Throughout the remainder of the dinner, the pattern repeats. Meghan laughs more loudly at the host's remarks than anyone else at the table. She touches his forearm repeatedly, ignoring the subtle physical cues he offers to discourage contact. In conservative Gulf culture, such gestures are not merely flirtatious. They are violations. At one point, the footage allegedly shows her reaching across and taking a piece of fruit directly from his plate, eating it without comment. Observers describe it as a territorial act, a gesture that communicates familiarity where none has been invited. Meanwhile, Harry remains disengaged. When he occasionally glances toward his wife, she does not meet his eyes. At one point, he appears to say her name. She responds with a brief wave of her hand, dismissive, distracted, and immediately returns her attention to the host. Witnesses describe the moment as subtle but painful, a husband attempting to reconnect, a wife signaling inconvenience. This is where the narrative shifts from rumor to orchestration, because Meghan's presence at the dinner was not accidental. She did not receive the invitation organically. Someone facilitated access. Someone vouched. That person, according to multiple sources, is a British expatriate socialite known within Dubai circles as Lady V, formerly a public relations executive. Lady V reinvented herself as a cultural intermediary, a connector between Western celebrities and Gulf elites. She is now, by all accounts, in panic mode. Lady V reportedly told friends she believed she was arranging a philanthropic introduction. Meghan, she claims, approached her months earlier requesting an introduction to the billionaire under the premise of humanitarian fundraising, water projects, sustainability, global partnerships. It sounded credible. It sounded familiar. Lady V believed she was enabling charity. She was wrong. According to her account, once Meghan arrived at the estate, the philanthropic narrative evaporated. There was no discussion of causes, no proposals, no follow-up materials. What unfolded instead was a sustained attempt to charm, isolate, and pursue the host. Lady V has allegedly described the experience as deeply uncomfortable, watching a married woman ignore her husband and push boundaries inside another man's home. She reportedly told a friend she felt complicit and ashamed. The consequences were immediate. Within days, Lady V found herself quietly excluded from social invitations. Messages went unanswered. Doors closed. In Dubai, this kind of social exile requires no announcement. It simply happens. Realizing the damage to her reputation, Lady V has allegedly offered to cooperate if legal proceedings follow. She is prepared, sources say, to state that the meeting was secured under false pretenses. And then there is Harry. About an hour into the dinner, the footage captures a change in him as well. Conversation around him slows. He looks up. His gaze fixes across the table. What he sees is not speculation. It is proximity. Touch. Focus. His expression shifts. It is brief but unmistakable. A man realizing, perhaps for the first time, that he is not the priority in his own marriage. That realization, insiders say, is where everything begins to unravel. What follows after the dinner is no longer confined to interpretation or subtlety. According to Soraya, the most damning moments occur once the meal concludes and the guests begin circulating through the estate. The atmosphere shifts from formal to fluid. Conversations fragment. Drinks are refreshed. The illusion of normalcy resumes. But the security cameras do not stop recording. They document what guests assume will never be seen. Approximately 90 minutes into the evening, the host excuses himself and steps away from the gathering, heading toward a private corridor that leads to the restroom and auxiliary rooms. The footage, Soraya claims, shows Meghan separating from the group almost immediately afterward. She does not engage with other guests. She does not seek out her husband. She waits. The camera position at the corridor entrance captures her standing alone, checking her reflection in a mirrored surface, adjusting her posture, and positioning herself deliberately in the host's path. When he emerges, she intercepts him. Witnesses who have viewed the footage describe the interaction as confrontational in its intimacy. Meghan steps directly into his space, forcing him to stop. Her body language is assertive. One hand, they say, presses flat against his chest. In the cultural context of the UAE, this gesture is not merely inappropriate. It is shocking. She leans in. Her head tilts. Her voice drops. According to enhanced audio reviewed by Soraya's security team, the exchange sounds less like flirtation and more like negotiation. The alleged words are blunt. She speaks of endings and upgrades. She dismisses her husband's relevance. She frames herself as an asset, media exposure, Western access, influence, a face for global branding, a partner for expansion. The pitch is not emotional. It is transactional. Those familiar with the clip describe it as a merger proposal delivered in a whisper. The host's response is immediate and decisive. He does not reciprocate. He does not entertain. He removes her hand from his chest and steps back, creating distance. His voice rises, firm enough for the microphone to register. He reminds her she is married. He tells her to return to her husband. He warns that security will intervene if she persists. Then he walks away. The footage lingers on Meghan for several seconds after he leaves. Observers describe her expression not as embarrassed or hurt, but furious. Her jaw tightens. Her eyes harden. She smooths her dress, straightens her posture, and turns back toward the party as if nothing has occurred. To those who have seen it, the moment is chilling. It is the absence of shame, the rapid emotional compartmentalization, the ability to fail publicly and resume performance instantly. Soraya says this is the point at which her former husband decided the situation could not be contained quietly. He did not want rumors. He wanted proof. He wanted his name separated from what he now viewed as harassment. According to her, he authorized the preservation and review of all relevant footage. But the evening does not end there. The following morning, at approximately 8 o'clock, a courier arrives at the estate. He carries a small velvet box and a sealed envelope marked personal and confidential. Security intercepts the delivery before it reaches the host. Given the events of the night before, protocol is followed. The package is scanned, logged, and discarded. Or so they believe. Soraya claims her network within the household alerted her. The package is retrieved from disposal. She opens it herself. Inside the box is a luxury watch, valued at roughly $50,000. The brand is prestigious. The implication unmistakable. But what transforms the gesture into evidence is the receipt. The purchase was made using a joint account, a card issued in Prince Harry's name. According to Soraya, this detail alone reframes the entire situation. It is not just seduction. It is misappropriation. There is also a handwritten note. The message is aspirational, almost romantic in its phrasing. It speaks of time, of not dwelling on the past, of building something vast and powerful together. The tone assumes continuity, as if the rejection never occurred, as if the door remained open. To Soraya, this was not persistence. It was delusion. When the host is shown the contents, his reaction is not amusement. It is anger. In his view, the unwanted contact has escalated into a breach of privacy and respect. Within hours, legal counsel is contacted. The matter is no longer social. It is procedural. A formal complaint is prepared, not for money, for protection. In the UAE, harassment laws are strict and clear. Unwanted advances followed by gifts and messages after explicit rejection constitute a violation. The host seeks a restraining order. He wants distance. He wants documentation. He wants resolution. And somewhere else in the city, Prince Harry receives a notification on his phone. A fraud alert. A charge he does not recognize. $50,000. At first, he assumes it is nothing. A personal indulgence. Another expense in a long list of unexplained expenses. He does not yet realize he has paid for the moment his marriage became indefensible. By the time legal counsel is engaged, the situation has moved beyond personal embarrassment. It has entered institutional territory. According to sources familiar with the complaint, the filing submitted to Dubai authorities is precise and restrained. It does not accuse. It documents. Dates, times, footage references witness statements. The objective is not retaliation. It is containment. The hosts want a formal boundary established and enforced. In his world, reputation is currency, and unchecked rumors metastasize quickly. As this process begins quietly in Dubai, another chain reaction is unfolding elsewhere. Harry, now in possession of fragments rather than facts, begins to sense that something fundamental has shifted. The dinner, which he initially dismissed as uncomfortable but forgettable, refuses to leave his mind. Certain images replay. The body language. The distance. The way his attempts to engage were brushed aside. He does not yet know about the corridor encounter. He does not know about the gift. But instinct, long suppressed, begins to resurface. That night, alone in the hotel room, Harry sends a message he has avoided sending for years. It is not lengthy. It is not polished. It is desperate. According to intelligence sources, the encrypted message is flagged automatically due to its origin and recipient. The recipient is his brother. The tone is unfiltered. He admits confusion, loss of control, regret. He asks for help. He asks for a way out. Within palace walls, the response is immediate but silent. There is no reply sent back. Protocol forbids emotional engagement. Instead, the message is escalated internally. Senior advisors review it. The monarch is briefed. The phrase that draws attention is simple and alarming. She's out of control. To those who have watched from a distance, this is confirmation. The awakening they hope would come has arrived, not through persuasion, but through humiliation. From this point forward, decisions are no longer Harry's alone. An extraction plan already exists. It has existed for some time. It is updated regularly but never activated without cause. The message from Harry constitutes cause. The plan is revised quietly. Logistics are reviewed. Conditions are drafted. Security personnel are alerted without explanation. This is not a rescue driven by emotion. It is a contingency driven by risk. Meanwhile, the legal complaint in Dubai advances. The request is narrowly defined. No contact, no proximity, no access to property. The implications, however, are vast. A restraining order, even a temporary one, reframes public perception instantly. It shifts the narrative from scandal to conduct, from rumor to record. Harry remains unaware of how close the situation is to becoming irreversible. Then the footage leaks. Not snippets, not blurred stills. The full recording, unedited, time-stamped, uploaded to a secure server, and distributed to multiple outlets simultaneously. Within minutes, it spreads beyond containment. The reaction is immediate and brutal. Viewers are not debating interpretation. They are watching behavior unfold in real time. The prolonged attention, the physical contact, the rejection, the persistence. For Harry, the moment is devastatingly simple. He locks himself in the bathroom with a tablet and watches. He does not need commentary. He does not need context. He sees what he could not bring himself to imagine. The touch, the words, the dismissal, the contempt. When he emerges, there is no confrontation, no shouting, no negotiation. He makes a single call. He speaks briefly. He accepts the terms that are offered without argument. The extraction will proceed. Those terms are severe. He will leave alone. He will make no public statements. He will disengage entirely from future ventures tied to the royal title. Upon arrival in the UK, he will enter seclusion. No interviews. No appearances. Silence. It is both an offer and an ultimatum. Back in Dubai, Meghan is unaware of how quickly control has slipped away. She is on calls with lawyers, strategists, crisis managers. The focus is denial, artificial intelligence, manipulation, disinformation. But her advisors are blunt. The footage is authenticated, the metadata intact, the source unimpeachable. There is no version of this that can be spun into victory. By the time she realizes Harry is packing, it is too late. He leaves with one bag. No ceremony, no farewell. Downstairs, vehicles wait with diplomatic clearance. Security forms a barrier. There is no confrontation. There is no discussion. The doors close. The convoy departs. Harry does not look back. And in that moment, the marriage does not end with a declaration. It ends with distance. By the time the convoy clears a hotel entrance, the story has already escaped containment. Word travels faster than official statements ever could. Guests who witness fragments of the departure share messages privately. Screenshots circulate. Timelines form. By mid-morning, the narrative has solidified. Harry has left, alone, under protection, without explanation. Inside the hotel suite, the atmosphere is described as volatile. Phones ring continuously. Advisors speak in clipped sentences. Legal teams attempt damage assessment rather than prevention. The focus shifts rapidly from denial to survival. Every potential response carries risk. Silence suggests guilt. Outrage invites scrutiny. Litigation exposes evidence. There is no winning move left on the board. As the footage continues to spread, reaction within elite social circles becomes decisive. The wives' networks that quietly govern access in Dubai move in unison. Invitations are withdrawn without explanation. Messages are left unanswered. Names are removed from guest lists. The exclusion is total and efficient. In this world, social death does not require confrontation. It requires consensus. The consequences extend beyond the Gulf. In London, former allies decline comment. In Los Angeles, silence replaces advocacy. Brand partners freeze discussions. Charitable boards request clarification and receive none. The persona carefully cultivated over years begins to fracture under the weight of visual evidence. The image of empowerment collapses into a narrative of entitlement and overreach. Meanwhile, legal proceedings in Dubai advance without spectacle. The restraining order is processed as a matter of record, not judgment. It bars contact. It establishes distance. It confirms that the host was not a participant, but a complainant. This distinction matters. It absolves him publicly while isolating her privately. The implication is devastating. The pursuit was unwanted, persistent, and documented. For Harry, the flight is silent. Sources say he does not speak once the plane lifts off. When the aircraft clears regional airspace, the emotional collapse finally arrives. It is not relief. It is grief, not just for the marriage, but for the years invested in defending something he now sees clearly. He mourns a version of himself that believed loyalty could substitute for truth. Upon landing, he is taken not to ceremony, but to isolation, a quiet property, limited staff, no press, no visitors beyond immediate family. The objective is decompression, not reconciliation. He is encouraged to sleep, to disconnect, to recalibrate. For the first time in years, he is not required to perform. Back in Dubai, reality sets in brutally. Accounts are frozen, credit lines suspended, hotel privileges revoked. The suite remains, but the status attached to it evaporates. Staff interaction shifts from deference to formality. Security presence increases, not to protect, but to monitor. The city that once represented opportunity now represents exposure. Then comes the final provocation. Soraya posts once more. No explanation. No commentary. Just an image. A chessboard mid-game. One piece toppled. The caption is brief and unmistakable. Checkmate. The message is not directed at the public. It is directed at those who understand how power actually functions. The game, she signals, is over. The irony is sharp. The strategy that was meant to elevate has instead dismantled everything. The attempt to secure a more powerful alliance has severed the only one that offered protection. The pursuit of control has resulted in exile. The belief that charm could override consequence has been disproven by documentation. For the public, fascination peaks and then settles into judgment. Comment sections harden. Sympathy evaporates. Defenders retreat. The footage remains, unchanging, immune to reinterpretation. It does not argue. It shows. Harry, removed from the noise, begins the slow process of reckoning. He understands now that departure was not abandonment. It was self-preservation. The marriage did not end because of a scandal. It ended because trust dissolved under observation. And in Dubai, amid glass towers and guarded estates, one truth circulates quietly among those who matter. Access is a privilege, not a right. Titles do not grant immunity. Power does not tolerate disruption. The door that was forced open has now closed permanently. In the days that follow, the silence becomes louder than the scandal itself. No denials are issued. No counter-evidence appears. Statements drafted by advisors remain unpublished, stalled by the same obstacle every time. Proof. The footage exists. The receipts exist. The witnesses exist. And without a way to dismantle the record, the strategy collapses inward. Public attention begins to shift from outrage to analysis. Commentators stop asking if the events happened and begin asking why. Theories circulate, not as speculation, but as post-mortems. The Dubai trip is no longer viewed as a misstep. It is reframed as a calculated gamble that failed catastrophically. Every move afterward, the gift, the note, the legal threats, the deepfake claims, reads as escalation, not misunderstanding. Within elite circles, the verdict is already settled. The behavior violated an unspoken code. Wealth tolerates ambition. It does not tolerate intrusion. In this world, access is earned slowly and revoked instantly. The idea that influence in the West could compensate for disregard in the East is seen as a fundamental miscalculation. Power does not respond to flattery when it senses entitlement. Harry remains absent. That absence becomes its own statement. No appearances, no leaks, no reconciliatory gestures. Friends describe him as exhausted but resolute. The extraction, once framed as temporary, now appears permanent. Legal separation is discussed quietly. Clinically, there is no appetite for drama, only distance. For Meghan, isolation deepens. Former allies keep their distance. Advisors transition from strategists to accountants, focus on liability rather than image. Projects stall. Invitations disappear. The global stage that once amplified her voice now echoes without response. The currency she relied on, attention, has inverted. Visibility no longer empowers. It incriminates. The restraining order, though procedural, becomes symbolic. It establishes a line that cannot be crossed. It confirms that the encounter was not mutual. That confirmation reshapes every prior narrative. Empowerment rhetoric gives way to accountability. The public conversation shifts accordingly. Consent becomes a lens. Boundaries the benchmark. And the footage remains a reference point. What ultimately devastates the brand is not scandal, but predictability. The patterns exposed in Dubai align too closely with earlier accounts to be dismissed as coincidence. The strategy of advancement through proximity. The assumption that persistence will override refusal. The belief that status insulates behavior from consequence. Once identified, the pattern cannot be unseen. Soraya does not speak again. She does not need to. Her role was never to persuade. It was to reveal, within her circles, the matter is considered resolved. The warning served its purpose. The threat neutralized. Order restored. The public, meanwhile, moves on with a final impression fixed firmly in place. Not of glamour, not of romance, but of miscalculation, of a moment when ambition overplayed its hand and collided with a system that does not bend. For Harry, the future is uncertain but quieter, removed from performance. He confronts the reality of his choices without an audience. Those closest to him say the clarity is painful but necessary. He no longer defends. He listens. He recalibrates. The cost of leaving was high, but the cost of staying had become higher. As the dust settles, one truth remains unavoidable. The Dubai episode was never about money laundering, philanthropy, or networking. It was about leverage. And leverage, once misused, collapses under its own weight. The city that was meant to serve as a launch pad became a mirror. It reflected intent, behavior, and consequence with brutal clarity. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was fabricated. Everything was recorded. And that is the detail no strategy can overcome. And as night falls over Dubai's skyline, the message becomes impossible to ignore. Influence can open doors, but it cannot erase evidence. The prince has chosen distance. The performance is finished. We'll be following Harry's return to UK and the legal fallout now set in motion. Subscribe now